Good evening, everybody. I welcome you to today's Roznama daily newspaper analysis. Now, in yesterday's newspaper, there were 2-3 things that we did pick up, and today's newspaper is also a continuation of 1 or 2 things that were yesterday. So, the most important bit for yesterday was the lowering of tariffs on India, that is now at 18%. And the second thing that we did talk about yesterday was the entire issue of Balochistan. So these 2 things are a repetition in today's session, and then the rest of it we'll take up in detail. Okay. All right. Now quickly moving to the first piece of news, that is the US deal. Now, right now, as of now, the US deal has only been announced by both the Prime Minister of India as well as the President of USA. The deal as of now has not been inked in the sense it has not been written down on paper. So as of now, our Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, he's just briefed the entire country, briefed the Parliament about the US deal. But as of now, he said that we'll take further decisions and we'll undertake a debate in the Parliament after the entire deal has been put down on paper. All right. And also, what the deal basically said is that the reciprocal tariffs that were imposed on India. So India had a reciprocal tariff imposed on it of 25%, then a punishment tariff, if you would want to call it, because we were buying Russian oil, of an additional 25%. So the total tariff that was imposed on India was 50%. Now the punishment tariff has been cut off, and the reciprocal tariff that was put on India has been reduced to 18%. So this is what you have to keep in mind. Now, in the budget session, I did tell you that this year the government is basically focusing on the manufacturing sector. So this particular trade deal also lays more impetus, gives more importance to the manufacturing sector. A lot of goods that have been upon whom tariffs have been reduced are mostly around the secondary sector or the manufacturing sector. All right. So here you can see he says that a major statement in the Parliament will be issued when the deal is entirely inked. All right. Then also here you can see that farmers secure agriculture and dairy interests protected. This is what our Commerce Minister has said. Now, why did the Commerce Minister had the need to issue this statement? Was because the agricultural sector has been protesting. All right, the farmers were protesting against the deal. Now, why were the farmers protesting? Okay, the farmers were protesting because, see, when we undertake the trade with USA, so India has a trade surplus with US. A trade surplus with US simply implies a term that you must keep in mind and understand. A trade surplus implies that the total amount in monetary terms of goods that we import from USA. Okay, so American imports in India or American imports to India in monetary terms are less. So American imports are less and Indian exports to USA is higher. Okay, so that is why we are in a trade surplus with USA, and because USA was in trade deficit with a lot of countries, it is for this very reason that USA announced the entire ideation of reciprocal tariffs. Okay, so India is in trade surplus with USA. Now, because tariffs have been reduced, so tariffs are reduced for India. So India also has given something in return to USA. And what India has done is that on all agricultural imports from USA to India, on maximum agricultural imports from USA to India, tariffs or duties have been reduced to minimum. So because agricultural imports are now going to face minimal tariffs and some of them absolutely zero tariffs on import to India, that is why the agricultural sector or the farmers are protesting that the Indian government has not protected farm interests in India, because they've given lesser tariffs or imposed less import duties on US agricultural products. So if US agricultural products are going to come into India at a cheaper rate, then naturally the Indian buyers are going to buy more of US agricultural products than our own Indian agricultural products. All right. So the entire sale of Indian agricultural farmers will be threatened. Okay. So that is why they've been protesting. And the commerce minister has issued this statement that all interests of Indian farmers, dairy farmers, etc., has been protected. All right. So this article talks about the same. All right. Then this article, another one, talks about why the exporters were relieved, because naturally the tariffs have been reduced to now 18%, but farmers were upset because the farmers said that all of these goods which are produced in India at higher percentage, like soya bean, cotton, maize, wheat, etc., India has imposed very minimal tariffs on US imports along these products. So this particular sector may be hit. Okay, so keep this in mind. All right, then another piece of news, a pretty interesting one, is that in Manipur, the government has announced elections, and the government has also chosen Yumnam Khemchand Singh as the next chief ministerial candidate there. All right. So naturally, BJP has chosen him, given his name, because the government as of now is of BJP only in Manipur. So they have given his name, but then elections will be undertaken and he will have to get elected to the state legislature. All right. So what is the entire issue of Manipur? You must keep in mind that this entire crisis in Manipur was between two tribes, all right, Meiteis and Kukis. So it was something that I had taken up a few days back. So it's just a reiteration that two tribes, Meiteis and Kukizo or Kuki, were in a tussle in Manipur. And why were they basically in this entire, why did these differences actually arose between them? Because one of the tribes here, that is Meitei, they were asking for, they were demanding for scheduled tribe status, which was extended to them, and the other tribe felt threatened, and that is why they resulted into this entire ethnic violence. So Meiteis and Kukis were in a tussle since 2023, and the present government there, under the erstwhile chief minister N. Biren Singh, couldn't curb the entire ethnic rights that were going on in the state. He couldn't control the state. So the people of the state, they started demanding his resignation, and effectively the chief minister of Manipur, he resigned, and then president's rule was imposed in the state. Now, if we look at president's rule, one thing that you must keep in mind, that there is no such thing as president's rule that is mentioned in the constitution. The constitutional term for president's rule is state emergency, and it has been provided for in Article 356 of the Constitution. Article 356 of the Constitution provides that state emergency can be declared in any state on the report of the governor or otherwise by the president of the country in case there is failure of constitutional machinery. Okay, so this article talks about constitutional machinery. There is another article which is read along with Article 356, and it is Article 365. Although Article 365 falls out of Part 18 of the Constitution, which talks about or provides for the provisions of emergency, but Article 365 also lays one of the grounds on which state emergency can be proclaimed. One of the grounds being that in case the central government gives certain orders to the state governments in any state, and the state government fails to comply with such orders, that also can be a legitimate ground for imposition of state emergency. All right. Now, Article 356 provides for failure of constitutional machinery. Constitutional machinery meaning that machine in here meaning the administrative structure that has been established in a respective state with respect to certain provisions of the constitution. So here we simply imply the elected government, the legislative assembly, the chief minister, all of which has been provided for in the constitution itself. Okay. All right. Then there's another provision which says that state emergency can be implemented in the state for 6 months at a time, and after every 6 months it has to be reapproved by the parliament. All right. And when you are approving this, the state emergency can be implemented for 1 year maximum, 1 year. And if the center wants to extend this period of 1 year, the center can extend this period, but only after satisfying two conditions. What are these two conditions? Is first one being that the Election Commission of India must provide that as of now, the whatever conditions in that respective state do not permit for new elections. If such a report is provided, or if there is national emergency that has been proclaimed at the central level. Okay. So only under these two circumstances can state emergency be extended beyond 1 year. And in case the state emergency is extended, that also for another 6 months, and this extension can be for a maximum of 3 years at a time. All right. So these are certain facts that you must keep in mind. Now, state emergency was implemented in Manipur in February 2025. Then after 6 months, it was extended in September for another 6 months, which is set to expire. 1 year term is set to finish in the next 10 days. So the government has finally made its decision that the government is not going to extend emergency beyond 1 year, and they called for establishment of a popular government in Manipur again. Okay. So this was everything about Manipur that you must keep in mind. Okay. Then another piece of news here, where the Supreme Court has basically issued a warning to WhatsApp and Meta that they must either take significant step for data protection of Indians, or they must withdraw from the country. All right. Now, why is data protection important in the country? So you must remember that data protection in the country is a fundamental right which comes under Article 21 of the Constitution. Okay. And this inclusion of right to privacy in Article 21 was facilitated through the 27 Puttaswamy versus Government of India, 2017 Puttaswamy versus Government of India case. All right. And also this was further strengthened. Now this case came about in 2017. This was further strengthened with DPDP Act of 2023. What is the DPDP Act? DPDP stands for Digital Personal Data Protection Act. I repeat, Digital Personal Data Protection Act. And what did this act seek to establish? The act simply gave recognition to the right of individuals to protect their personal data and the need to process such data for lawful purposes. That each and every person will be given the right to protect his information, his personal information, his personal detail, and along with that also, that personal information may be used by the government only for lawful purposes. All right. Then this DPDP Act was further, broadened through the Digital Personal Data Protection Rules of 2025. Okay. Digital Personal Data Protection Rules of 2025. They've been notified just recently. Okay. So do keep all of this in mind. All right. Another thing that all of these WhatsApp, Meta, etc., all of these platforms, they have been they mention they are regulated and monitored by an organization named the Competition Commission of India. Okay, Competition Commission of India. Now, just a little something about this organization that you must keep in mind, that it was established in 2003 under the Competition Act of 2002, and this particular organization is a statutory organization because it had come into existence through a law, and it functions under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and it is the national competition regulator in the country. Okay, so this is every static information that you must keep in mind with respect to this particular piece of news. All right, the articles were available in both the Indian Express and the Hindu. Okay, now coming to the next piece of news. Why did I take this up was only to flag for you the START Treaty. Okay, now the START Treaty is naturally an abbreviation. START here implies Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. Okay, Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, and this particular treaty was signed between USA and Russia in 2011. It was signed in 2010. It came into, or it was enforced in 2011, and it was signed for a period of 10 years. All right, that is, it was set to expire in 2021. Then it was further extended for another 5 years till 2026. All right, now tomorrow itself the treaty is set to expire. And why was this treaty actually signed? This treaty was signed, or is a culmination of everything that was happening during the Cold War era. During the Cold War era, there were two super blocks, USSR, which worked on the idea or ideology of socialism and communism, and on the other side, we had USA, which had the ideology of liberalism or industrialization or capitalism. Okay. Now, during the period of Cold War, which ranged from 1945, okay, do keep in mind Cold War, 1945 to 1991. During this period, both of these superpowers, they wanted to establish their global supremacy, and that is why they kept on undertaking various advancements in different fields, specifically in armament development as well as in nuclear energy. So to limit both of their massive expansion of armaments, there were multiple treaties that were signed between these two countries, some of them being the SALT treaties, that is Strategic Arms Limitation Treaties, and the START treaties, which is Strategic Arms Reduction Treaties. All right. So this treaty is set to expire tomorrow, and both the countries, Russia specifically, has shown concern for its non-renewable as of now. All right. And Russia itself had suspended the treaty a few years back, suspended talks on the treaty a few years back after the Russia-Ukraine war broke up. Okay. So this is everything that you must keep in mind. Please go through the article once to get a better understanding. All right, and this particular talks were initiated actually right now in Abu Dhabi, where US, Russia, and Ukraine, they're trying to negotiate for a peace agreement between US and Russia to bring the war to an end, peace treaty. All right. Okay. Then a wonderful article that you all can please go through, and I want you all to go through to get an idea about what the Balochistan issue is all about. In yesterday's session, I had taken that up in detail. So make sure you go through that once and then come to this particular article. So Balochistan is a province in Pakistan which was promised autonomy during the time of independence, but Pakistan naturally did not recognize its autonomy and has subsumed the region into Pakistan, whereby the people of Balochistan are significantly facing ruining and degradation of their traditions, cultures, and the entire Baloch identity. So they have been protesting against Pakistan to gain independence and autonomy. They established a Balochistan Liberation Army, and they've been waging wars and protests against Pakistan military. All right. Pakistan says that Baloch army of BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army, has been instigated by Afghanistan on one side and India on the other hand to undertake terror activities in Pakistan. And also Baluchistan, to instill its autonomy, has also launched Operation Herof in 2024. Now Operation Herof 2.0, also known as Operation Black Storm. All right, that is everything that you need to know about it. Please go through this article once. It's a good thing. All right. Okay. Then another thing that I wanted to flag for you all is that only 14% of the NCAP funds have been used in Delhi so far. What is NCAP? So NCAP is National Clean Air Program. All right. Now this National Clean Air Program, the full form is important, launched in 2019 for the NCR region, and in the NCR region it covers around 130 cities. Okay, 130 cities. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to combat the growing threat of degrading air quality. Okay, combat the degrading air quality. So under NCAP, which naturally had a target, to reduce the PM 2.5 and PM10, that is particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10 levels in the NCR region by about 40% by 2025-26, whereby the targets are not effectively being met. And one of the reasons that they've cited is that of the total amount of money that has been outlined under NCAP, only 14% of the funds have been used so far. All right. Also remember that India is supposed to be hosting the 2030 Commonwealth Games, and then is also bidding to host the 2036 Olympic Games, and that entire purpose to host it is as of now in a very dicey position because of all the degrading air quality in the national capital region. The sports personalities find it difficult to practice in such a poor air quality because of very low oxygen levels. All right. So keeping that in mind, the topic becomes important. And also under NCAP, the government also has a program which is known as GRAP, which is Graded Action Program, Graded Response Action Program. Graded in the sense because it has a total of 4 categories or levels through which the government seeks to combat air pollution and the ill effects of air pollution on the people of NCR. Okay, so there's 4 categories: poor, very poor, severe, and severe plus. All right. Okay. Then a very wonderful news piece today, and very important from the legal perspective, that the Supreme Court Collegium clears 5 ex-judges in ad hoc role for Allahabad High Court. Okay, ad hoc means temporary. All right. Now, there is a provision in the Constitution under Article 224, Part 4. Okay, under Article 224, Part 4, that the Supreme Court can appoint retired judges, ex-judges, for temporary basis in case there is shortage of manpower, which resulting in major pendency of cases in the courts. All right. So a provision has been given in the court, but then it is something that the Supreme Court has rarely used. All right. So this time it has been the 4th time in history that the Supreme Court has appointed ad hoc judges, and that too also 5 judges this time for the Allahabad High Court. So go through this article, an important one. Okay. Then coming to the editorials, the first editorial naturally talks about the US trade deal and why this US trade deal, is of great significance for India, because it simply shows us that now there is actually some warming of relations between USA and India, which of late had become pretty cool because India, showed inclinations or has friendships with Russia, which did not go down well with US, and US did undertake major pacts, etc., with Pakistan as well. All right. So this particular trade deal has given inclinations that India that entire tariff problem and issue with India that was going on with USA will soon come to an end, and then naturally it again draws the same thing that 18% tariffs have been now implemented, reduced from 50%. The commerce minister said that it is a wonderful deal. It will be tabled and talked about in the parliament after it is formally brought down on paper, and then it also talks about that what are the parts, where are the regions where all these tariffs, etc. What are the sectors that it is actually going to benefit and help? All right. So do go through this particular editorial. Okay. Then next one is regarding the ICC T20 World Cup. All right. Now the issue here is that there are two countries. One is Bangladesh and one is Pakistan that have been putting for demands in front of the ICC. Now, the ICC T20 World Cup this year, the host countries are, I say host countries because it is going to be co-hosted, and it is going to be co-hosted by India and Sri Lanka. All right. So, various venues have been chosen for conducting these matches. Now, what the entire issue is and why does it say that politics is playing an oversized role is because whenever we talk about sports or sportsmanship, it was always said that sportsmanship is always beyond borders, is always beyond, political issues, and players, they don't bring in political issues in between sports. All right. But what has happened is that as of now, the relations between Bangladesh and India are pretty strained. Why are they strained is because naturally there was this political upheaval in Bangladesh, which resulted in the ousting of the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina. And she is, as of now, sought asylum, and she's living in Delhi in exile. Now, she was sentenced to death by the arbitration court in Bangladesh, by the criminal court in Bangladesh, sorry. And Bangladesh is seeking her return from Delhi, which India is not doing. The second bit was that during the IPL auctions, one of the Bangladeshi players was bought by KKR. And that particular player was then eventually asked to go back because of straining of relations between India and Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, under these circumstances, has said that Bangladesh will not be playing the T20 World Cup matches that are scheduled for Bangladesh in India. And Bangladesh said that Bangladesh's players have significant security threat in India. Okay. So, and therefore they said that they don't wish to play their matches in India. Let their matches be scheduled in Sri Lanka. ICC issued a statement saying that no such thing will be done for Bangladesh, and Bangladesh players are not going to face any such security threat in India. All right. And if Bangladesh presses for the same, then ICC will have no other choice but to remove Bangladesh from as one of the teams in the T20 World Cup. So Bangladesh naturally did not put its foot down. So ICC removed Bangladesh. Bangladesh was disqualified and was replaced with Scotland. All right. Now, after this happened, Pakistan also said the same thing, that Pakistan does not wish to play its matches in India. Pakistan wants its matches to be held in Sri Lanka. As of now, ICC has issued warnings to Pakistan and asked Pakistan to think over again. All right. The article basically talks about everything that I've just told you, and also certain, also draws a little attention to the history of Bangladesh coming into existence in 1971, when relations between Bangladesh and Pakistan were pretty strained, and now somehow they have forged an Islamist brotherhood between themselves. Yes, it's a wonderful article. Do go through it. Then coming to the next one, a beautiful article, and the article actually, talks about sustainable development or sustainable harnessing of energy, which India is also trying to do is trying to transition from non-renewable sources of energy to renewable sources of energy. So the title of the article, if you look at it, it's pretty interesting, which calls for India's next industrial shift from electrons over molecules. Now here molecules imply non-renewable sources of energy, that is fossil fuels, all right? That burning of fossil fuels implies molecular based energies which release, burn molecules to release energy. They are powered by molecules, whereas electrons here imply electricity based energy, and this electricity which must be generated through renewable sources. All right. Then the article moves forward and gives a good comparison between fossil fuel based energy and non-fossil fuel based energy, and then how is India trying to transition from non-renewable to a renewable source of energy, and also gives us a good insight as to how China is doing it and how well is China doing it. China has made every attempt to use renewable energy in everything possible, and has only left out those sectors which actually cannot use renewable sources of energy to be dependent on non-renewable or fossil fuels of energy. All right. And the article further moves ahead and tells us that what can India do and what are the various steps that India has undertaken. Okay. So good editorial. Do go through it. All right. Then another piece of article which talks about MP LADs. Okay. So what is MP LAD? MP LAD is a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme meaning a scheme that is fully funded by the central government. That is 100% of its expenditures are borne by the central government itself. All right. So MP LAD scheme was launched in 1993. Full form of MP LADs, Members of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme. Under this scheme, what happens is that the central government gives around 5 crores of rupees to each member of the parliament every year. Okay, so rupees 5 crore per year, and this 5 crore annually, meaning 25 crores in 5 years. That is the 5-year term of a particular MP. And this MP has to use these 5 crores of rupees to bring about infrastructure and other development in his respective constituency. Now, there have been various debates. The article talks about the same thing. That there have been various debates that this particular scheme should be scrapped, should be removed, because the MPs are naturally not using the funds that have been allocated to them for developmental purposes, but mostly are only serving their own interests. All right. So this is basically a debate where they talk about removing it, and they also give the pros of the MP LADs scheme. All right. So a good scheme, a good article. Do go through it. Remember the name of MP LADs, when was it established, what is its purpose. Okay. All right. Then coming to the next piece of editorial for today. Again, it was on the 16th Finance Commission. Yesterday also there was an article on it. So the 16th Finance Commission submitted its recommendations, which were accepted. And the major issue of this was that out of the total revenue tax outlay or tax fund of the central government aligned 41% of its total tax collections to as devoluted money or under devolution to various states in the country, where a lot of states, they did say that they were anticipating an increase in the devolution percent of money from 41% to 50%. All right. So the article talks about the same thing, that is the initiative, is the continued amount of 41% devolution, which was the same under the 15th Finance Commission, which has been retained by the 16th Finance Commission as well, is an effective measure, or is it actually not looking for adequate, equitable development of states? Okay. So an article which you must go through. Then the next one is again for the entire tariff deal between India and India and Washington. Also takes into account the European Union Free Trade Agreement, and just says that these tariffs and these trade agreements are actually are benefiting for India. And also they talk about that this particular trade deal shows greater possibility, the reduction of tariffs by USA shows greater possibilities for India. Why? Because India has been kept at a better position as compared to its neighbors. For example, India has been implemented and a tariff of 18% has been implemented on India, whereas on India's neighbors like Pakistan and Bangladesh, the tariff is of 19%. And other neighbors like Vietnam, Indonesia, etc., the US tariffs are 20%. So this simply shows us a contrast in how, it is going to further broaden India's economic agenda and goal. All right. Then coming to the next article, again, a wonderful article about the same, that there is warming of relations between India and US, and there is significant, the trade, the tariff reduction brings more, a shift in the India-US trade. And because recently off late, the article points that off late there was warming of relations between India and USA and Pakistan, where the US president gave recognition to the self-proclaimed Field Marshal of Pakistan, Asim Munir, and also, outlaid various concessions, agreed to extract oil from Pakistan, etc. But this particular tariff actually now shows that India, which has been given a reduced tariff percent as compared to Pakistan. So it is, basically drawing attention to the fact that USA has finally come to this realization that India is very crucial for USA's if not supremacy, but USA's entire balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so good article. Go through it. Then again, an article on just another briefing. You may read it, but you can skip it also. But then again, a good article which again talked about the Supreme Court's ruling on menstrual hygiene, that menstrual hygiene in school is a part of Article 21 of the Constitution. So it fosters dignity for women in the country. Now coming to the last bit for today. Yes, recently there were threats, etc., from USA on sending an armada towards Iran and everything. So right now, both the countries, they've sort of, given up on issuing very extreme statements against each other. And Iran has further pressed that Iran wants to negotiate with USA in equitable and pretty fair terms. And also, it says, and these negotiations are being brought about by Turkey. All right. So keep in mind this information. All right. Then this particular article, because the Home Ministry has provided an update on information. So left-wing extremism simply means extremist tendencies, movements like violence, etc., which are fostered due to belief in leftist ideologies, that is extreme form of socialism and communism. In India, it is understood to be Naxalism. Why is it understood to be Naxalism? Because this particular ideology, for the first time, people believing in this particular ideology, in the ideology of extremist left ideas like socialism and like communism, not socialism, like communism, for the first time, they violently protested against the government authorities in 1967 from a very small village known as Naxal Bari in West Bengal. And because the issue took place from Naxal Bari, so it was from Naxal Bari that the name Naxalism came into existence. Now, the Home Ministry had outlined a target under Mission Sankalp that they wish to root out Naxalism from the country by March 2026. All right. So naturally, it is just 1 month away. So this government has issued a statement saying that Naxalism was in 126 districts in 2018. Now it is only in 8 districts. All right. So do go through this small piece of news in the Indian Express. Then coming to the next one, I just wanted to flag the term interim bail for you all. So interim bail simply means an anticipatory bail that has been extended to somebody for a temporary brief period before the actual bail is, before the actual full bail application is considered by the courts. All right. So it is just a temporary in-between bail that is given or extended to any particular person before the full anticipatory bail is given recognition to. Then again, just a small piece of news that you must keep in mind, that DRDO has recently successfully test-fired ramjet technology missile, which makes India a part of the elite group of missile technology. Okay. And the last piece of news I just wanted to flag for you all that keep in mind Punat Sangchu 2 hydroelectric project, which is being undertaken between India and Bhutan. Okay. So that is all for today's newspaper analysis. I hope you all had a wonderful time. Pretty interesting news pieces these days. And I'll see you soon with the next one. Thank you.